Okay, so now that we've picked out our rulers that are going to correspond with our own personal measurements, the next thing we're going to do is start plotting out the pattern diagram. So we're going to do this piece right here, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to do the length. So these numbers, this 1A, 1B, 4B, 5E, all of these, we're going to plot these off along a line using our purple ruler, which is our waist length measurement. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a ruler, and I'm going to draw a long straight line. And I'm going to need most of the paper for this. If you don't have big sheets of paper, you can buy butcher paper at craft stores, or you can use a backside of wrapping paper. That usually works good. And what we're going to do is we're going to start up at the top. We're going to put a little dot at the top for where we're going to start. And then I'm going to line my ruler up with that. And then I see on my diagram right here there's a 0, and so I'm just going to mark a 0. And then the next one is 1A. So I'm going to go down 1, and then I'm going to look for the A. Now this is numbered instead of having 1/4, 1/8, 5/8, that kind of thing. They've made it simple, and they've put A, B, C, half, D, E, F. And so that way you don't even have to know how to read a ruler particularly well, you just have to find the letter. So we're going to go down to 1A, and we're going to mark it, and I'm going to label it. I'm going to label all of these as I go. The next one is 1B, so I'm going to go down, make another mark. Those are really close together. And then we're going to go down to 4B. So I go down to 4AB, make a mark, and label it. Then down to 5E, so there's 5, and then go down to E. And 7. Then we're going to go down to 9D, 13C, then 14F, and then 16.5. So I'm going to make a little mark where 15 is, and then move it down. I usually go down to the 5, and so then we're going to say that's 15 now, 16.5. You can make longer rulers if you want. You can keep on adding to the rulers, and then you don't have to move them, but I missed by a little bit on this one. Okay, so now we've got all of our length measurements. We're going to take our ruler and we're going to make perpendicular lines. So these have to be exactly like a 90-degree angle like this. So if you have like an L bracket, those are actually the easiest to use. If you have a T-square, you can use those, but just make sure that you've got it lined up so that the T part is exactly on the line and this part is coming straight across. And you're going to make a line coming out from each of these. Now if you don't have a T-square or one of those L rulers, you can also use a board for this. And I actually think this is a little bit easier in some ways. So I'm going to go on here, and I'm lining up the edge of the board with my line, my vertical line, and then I'm drawing a horizontal line across. And I go ahead and make them pretty nice and big. They can go pretty far across the page and not hurt anything. Better to be too long than too short. And I'm going to do that on all of these. And I would do that all the way across and all the way, for all of them, all the way down. Okay, I'm not going to do all of them just to speed it up a little bit, but I'll do one more. And then you're going to take your bust measurements. So here's my other ruler. And this number over on this side, the ones that are in yellow, are my bust measurements coming across. And so, well, they're not my bust measurements, but they're using the bust ruler. So I take the bust ruler and I line it up with the 0 for the first one. And then, actually I'm going to put it up here so I can see my letters. And then come across, and it's supposed to be 5A for the first one. So I'm coming over to 5A, and I label it. And then go down to this next row, and that one is the 1A line, and it comes across 3. So I'm going to measure across 3, make a mark. The next one, and sometimes it's kind of hard to see the numbers, but here's the number right there, is 1. So that 1B row, I'm going to come over 1, make a mark, come down to this one on the 4B row, and it says a half, so I'm going to measure over a half. Okay, now some of them have it on both sides of the pattern, and some of it will just have one side or the other. On this one where that 3F is, there's nothing on this side, so on the 5E row, I come over to 3F and make a mark, and you would just continue doing this all the way down. Now to speed things up a little bit, I have one where they're all numbered already. So this is what it looks like whenever you've got all your little marks, and it's really hard to see. You can't really tell what it is right now. But after you have your marks, then you take your flexible ruler or your French curve, or you can just kind of draw it in freehand if you want. But these usually help. What you're going to do is you're going to line this up with your marks, and you're just going to play connect the dots. So I've got this point, and then it needs to curve up to that 5A one at the top. So it looks like I've pretty much got them all like that. And then you're going to just connect them together. Okay, so there's that first line. If it's not perfect, you know, it's not a big deal. You can come back in and kind of re-sketch it if you need to. Then I'm going to do this long line coming down. So I'm going to take this and line it up with the 1, and then the 1 or the half, and then we've got another half down here and another half further down. Now some of these, it looks like it kind of bows out and then bows in a little bit. So you can kind of adjust your ruler so that it kind of comes out and then back in, and so it makes a little bit more of a curved line. And it might not be much of a curve, but you can kind of get a little bit in there. These long lines like this, if they seem pretty straight, you can just use a straight ruler if you want. Looks like there's a tiny bit of a curve to this, but not much. So you can just do between 2 points, or you can get the whole, like the long line. This one was too long, so I couldn't get it all at once, so I did it for a little ways, and then I'm going to move my ruler down and do it for a little bit more. Okay, and you would just continue doing this on down. I guess I can do that real quick. I'm just going to come down to the bottom. This one comes down a little ways, and then we've got a straight line across the bottom. Okay, and then I would go back in and I would draw this seam line. It gives you a 1/2 inch seam on these, and so most of the vertical lines will have the seam allowances on them, so between like the front piece, the side piece, the back piece, but they don't have seam allowances on the top or the bottom, and a lot of time on the arms they don't have seam allowances there, so you'd have to add them. Now you can go back in and you can kind of touch up, because it looks like it has a little bit of a curve there, so I'm going back in and drawing a little bit more of a curve, and as long as you hit those dots, that's all that really matters. So this is the first piece, and I would just continue doing this for each of the pieces. And then of course they assume that you're going to make a muslin and try it on and fix any mistakes and tweak it at that point. A lot of the bodices are fit through darts, and so there might be a lot of variety in the darts, because this is made to fit your bust. It may not fit your waist exactly, but you can make your darts bigger or smaller, and that takes care of the waist really easily. And that's pretty much it. They do have one thing where they have a different measure for the sleeve length in the Edwardian Modiste book. And what I found is that the sleeve length is pretty close to your back length. So I measured mine, and my sleeve length was 36 inches, and this one was 35 inches. And so I just used the same sleeve length, and it seemed to work out just fine. You might want to give yourself a little bit longer hem at the cuff, and that's about all you need. Also watch out, the waist and the length is the measurement you're going to use for skirts. So instead of using the bust measurement for a skirt, you'll use the waist measurement. And it's the same process, you'll just print out a different ruler for the waist, and then you'll measure how long you want the skirt to be and print out the ruler for that. And that's pretty much it. I hope this helped.